When we bought the property, there was nothing out front. There was piles of rocks because the people before had displays of old farm equipment, and that's all that was there. And I remember staking out the four corners of the garden and paying somebody to come and till the whole thing up for me. And he called me and he said, you know, he had found the stakes, but are you sure you want the whole thing plowed? And I said, plowed and tilled. And I said, yeah. He said, okay. But he has come since then, and I remember him saying, oh, I understand what, you know, why you have the whole thing done now. So, but when it was all fresh and nothing but dirt, this pathway all down the center was the first thing that I staked out. I knew that this is what I wanted. It goes from the front door directly all the way out the front. And when we added the screened-in porch on, I had my husband put the door so it would continue. In the front, we have two perennial beds with perennial flowers all down both sides in the front. I did have them down the center the first year, but then I realized you can't see them from the house that way. They kind of shade each other, or you just can't see them. So I moved them so that you can see them when you're on the porch. And this bush will be the exact same thing as this one. It's just, I replaced the one that was there. So it's a little off kilter right now. And this is the west side, and this is the east side. Nothing has been planted yet. I have a little bit of spinach coming up from last year, and these are the trellises that we put in last year. There's 3 of them, and then the rocks came in. There's the benches we made last in the fall, and there's one over there, and one over there. And this is the rose arbor. I had a different one and it wasn't out of the right wood, so when we got a whole bunch of hedge wood, this is, I took the other one down and recreated a different one. This one has, the other one had straight sides, and this one kind of bows out into a circle. And there's roses on each corner. And the idea, I'm going to make it circular through here. And then I have a light to hang down from there. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a planter, like an urn with flowers overflowing, or if I'm going to get like a small table with a couple chairs. But either way, there'll be something right there. And these on either side are my blueberry beds. There's blueberry bushes all the way down both sides, and then lavender on the outsides. And on the inside there is fruit trees planted. There's two dwarf apple and an almond. And then on this side is two dwarf pear and an almond. We'll see how it goes. I read that blueberries benefit from a little bit of shade, so this is what I come up with. The one needs staked a little bit better. And there's a bench down at that end. And right there there'll be another branch that goes across the top, and there's a climbing rose right there also. This patch in front is new. There's herbs in the back around the little well, and that was the original herb bed. And I tried to make one here several times and I just couldn't get it right. Last year I finally got the design right and exactly what I want, and it looked so pretty last year. The well there is actually a well underneath the wishing well. There was a school in front up here somewhere. Actually, there's certain spots I still dig up rocks. They didn't haul them off or anything. They're just kind of half buried. So they come up every once in a while. And this side is elderberry hell. Yeah, I love elderberries. They're so pretty and they're good for you, but they take over something fierce. And I, in my naivety, thought the 3-foot paths would keep them contained, and it is not. They're coming up in the path, and they're coming up on the other side. So they will be dug out. I've picked a different spot. Way over there by itself. I'll take you over there and show it to you, but it will be one line of elderberries with grass on both sides so that we can just run the mower over it and keep them contained, because there is no other way I'm going to keep them contained, obviously. But there's irises along here and some lilies, and if we keep going out, this is the asparagus bed. Everything out here kind of went to the wayside last year when I was working a terrible lot of overtime. So I will have some weeding to catch up on, but that's no big deal. I have asparagus here, and there's 2 rows of raspberries after that. All along here are flowers, and there's 3 rows of blackberries on this side, and this is the strawberries. There was a bed and a pathway just mirroring this right there, and then the strawberries were along here. And I took out the bed and the pathway and made it one big bed, obviously. And the idea, I was going to put corn here. But the place that I have to put my strawberries that they were going to be moved to is going to be a lot smaller. And I just could not bring myself to do it. And you can see where I've put in rows. There'll be 3 different varieties. That's the patch they were in, and then over here they haven't been transplanted at all in this last bed. We've been bringing stacks of bricks in. That's where all the bricks, and they're for the pathways. And this over here, if I can squeeze through here without stepping too much in the mud. And this is my orchard. There are 4 sour, like pie cherries, let's see, 3 apricot, a couple of plum, a couple of sweet cherries, and a whole bunch of apples. And then like 5 peach that just got planted this year. And all along the front of the property is redbud trees. That was the first thing I started transplanting from the old place. Is we had redbud trees coming up everywhere, and I had let them grow a little bit. I'd pulled them out, but I let them grow so that I could transplant some here. So there are 26 redbud trees all along the front of the property. And I'm hoping that this year we will get a few more blooms. Every year we get a few more, so it'll look pretty. And then there's 1 pair over here, and there will be another pair here at some point. This arbor is not finished, but this is the only place this is the only place that I didn't have a bench to sit on. I frequently come out to the garden and walk around and look at things, make notes, And in each area of the garden, I like to have a little bench to sit on. And this is what I come up with. It's not done. And this bed here is where the asparagus were. And it will be pumpkins this year. And this bed over here will probably be pumpkins too, I'm not really sure. And we have, there are 2 little cranberries, a white blackberry, which, and there are black currants, and the most beautiful red daylilies all along here. And there's 3 hazelnuts, and these are goji berries on each corner. And I had started the idea I was going to put painted daisies, which this side has painted daisies, but they're not filling in and doing as well as I had wanted. So I'm going to move them someplace else. And I thought some bright red flowers all along here would be really pretty. I'll find something. And this is where the strawberries were going to go. Like I said, it's much, much smaller, and I just wasn't ready to cut down on my strawberry harvest yet, I guess. And this is just a tiny little pollinator garden. And the back has there's a wisteria growing back there. So that's why the structure is so stout. Okay, see more bricks. And this was the original herbs. I've got one lone lavender. I'm not sure why it ended up over here. And there's feverfew and echinacea and comfrey and basil and parsley and sage, and there's tansy over there. I planted tansy the first year, and this year I'm going to have to dig some out because it is massive. And all this over here is chamomile. Can you believe it? It's trying to take over right here. On the other side, let's see, the other side had different basils and thyme and oregano and St. John's wort and pineapple sage. Pineapple sage is beautiful. And this is a new thing to try. I found a place that sold saffron crocus, and they got nipped. That's what all these little things right here are. They got nipped with that really cold spell that we had. And I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I have high hopes. And there's a rose here, and there's roses along here, and there will be climbing roses on both sides. The arbor's not done. It'll have 2 poles on both sides that go around. So, and this is my shade garden. And I need to replace some of these, but I just put the rocks down to kind of mark where they go, but they need to be leveled if they're going to stay, or I have some better ones here and there. I just haven't moved them. But this is my favorite by far. This bench is where I found myself the most this year when I needed to take a break. See, I have plenty of rocks and bricks, and the idea at some point is to put a rock wall along there. I have done one on the other corner. I'll show it to you. And this is garlic. So you can kind of see the lavender better from here. It's beautiful in the spring or in the summer when it's all blooming, and it just smells wonderful. There's 4 different varieties. There's a different variety on each corner. shed. And here's the rock wall that's actually, it's just dry fit. It's not, so I can't make it very tall. And the idea at some point, I'd like to have it 4 foot tall with mortar and, you know, really pretty, but that takes time. And it's on the 10-year plan, let's put it that way. And this is my grape arbor. This is also something that was done the first year. I knew that in my mind what I wanted. There was somebody here in town, an older gentleman, he has since passed, but we went to his house one time and he has had an arbor with his grapes growing on the top of them, and it was so pretty, and I just loved the way it looked, and all the grapes were hanging down off from the top of it, and I wanted to recreate it. And this is different than his because his was kind of low, but mine's a little high, but it'll be okay, I think. But the grapes are starting to grow up on top of I need to finish putting the fence, but I did the sides that I had to last year, but the grapes have already started to grow up across the top. So the idea is they will grow up and over it, and the grapes will hang down, and it will create a shade for this little spot. I want to hang there'll be a hose that goes from there all the way over to here, and I'll be able to wash the vegetables, and then I'll hook a hose to the bottom so that I can drain the wastewater back into the garden. There's no reason to waste it all. Yeah, hindsight is 2020. When we moved here, there was only one outside hydrant. It's just on this corner of the house. So one year, that was the thing we did, is put lines in, dug out, and there's one here, there's one right there by the blueberries, and there's one all the way to the back. And now we kind of wish that we'd put a couple more in, because I would like to have one somewhere nearer to the greenhouse, and then we need one here. So, but I don't want to dig out again. That was a lot of work. And there is salvia along here, and I'll take you on a spring tour when everything starts blooming. But these are alums. They're last year they were my favorite thing that bloomed. And then there's poppies. They've reseeded. And this part over here is my biggest project right now, and it will not get done this year. But we have a fire pit in the backyard, and we don't hardly use it because it's just inconvenient. So there will be the fire pit will be moved here, and then all of our swings will go around it. And then there's trees and beds. This is where my cannas go. They did beautiful along here last year. And there will be a pathway. You can see the pathway. It'll go over and over to the driveway, because this is the hydrant that I use most for the greenhouse. And then there's trees planted there already, and bulbs, and